Welcome to Entrepreneur S.O.S, where we help business owners navigate the often complex world of entrepreneurship. Each week, we share expert advice or real-life experiences from successful entrepreneurs who have faced and overcome the challenges of building a business. Whether you're just starting out or looking to take your business to the next level, this podcast is designed to help you. So join us each week and let's grow your business together. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and leave a review. It helps us to reach more entrepreneurs just like you. And this week, we are talking about how to upgrade your money mindset and manifest more money into your life based on a book we both just read called Get Rich, Lucky Bitch by Denise Duffield-Thomas. It was amazing. How did you like the book, Sandy?
It was really interesting. First of all, I had seen the book a while back and tried to get it from my library. My library didn't have it and I didn't want to buy it. And then it popped up again in this app and I started listening to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is great because I feel like, and no judgment here, but I feel like there's a lot of people that are very wealthy and just seem lucky. But I'm like, why is it taking so long for this to manifest into my life? I realize there's a lot of obstacles that we ourselves put on ourselves from her book. And just some of the tricks and some of the tips and some of the exercises that we'll go into in a minute really have already changed things. I loved the book. I thought it was really great with some tangible tips.
I agree. First of all, I loved her humor. I absolutely adored the way she spoke in the book because you felt like you were just having a conversation with this woman. And she's very Australian. She's very, very Aussie. She just uses the word like crap and shit. And you felt like you weren't
She's very real.
Yeah, you weren't being talked at. She didn't make you feel like this was, oh, you have a problem. What I loved about it is she took us through her journey. You know, what I thought was really interesting in the beginning of the book is we all talk about manifesting, manifest more into your life. And what was interesting is she had written an original book called Get Lucky Bitch, and she became a master manifester. This woman manifested a world trip for worth $500,000 into her life. But yeah. What was the cool part is she talked about how she got back from all of that and realized that her life was no better off money-wise. So while she could imagine manifest cars and trips and all these things, she was still in a shitty apartment and she was living this shitty lifestyle. And she was like, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. And that's what I think I really loved about it is it really became like full circle and real. Just because you can manifest things into your life doesn't mean that you have a good lifestyle. And she did give just those practical, raw things that you could put into your life. I have already put a lot of these practices I've started to put into my life that we're going to start talking about. And it did really hold a mirror up to me in a lot of those exercises. Wow, I didn't realize that had that much of an impact. So I think it's a book that for women, if you haven't read it, we're going to drop it in the show notes. You definitely go check it out from the library, get it on Audible, do whatever you need to do, but definitely get a copy of this book and read it. I think it is worth your time. And it's an easy read. I listened to it on a trip to the mountains and back. I think it's worth your time. I agree, Sandy. I thought it was really good. When you were reading the book, what was your oh, yeah, now I see some problems. Where did you find that? Where's the first part that you actually felt that?
For me, the biggest part was the money blocks that I didn't realize were money blocks. So she has you really think of any shitty situation around money. Going back to way back when I really started thinking. And I remember when I was little, my parents fought about money because my father had lent money to a friend and he never paid it back. And I remember my parents arguing about that. I thought, what money blocks? What money blocks? And then I started really digging and I wrote them down and I wrote them down and I wrote them down. And I'm still like, oh, and I add them to my list. And I think subconsciously and energetically, those money blocks that I really didn't think existed definitely existed. And that was huge for me. I would say that was my number one exercise or takeaway that I didn't realize I actually had.
I agree. I feel like when you read this book, you're gonna get a pivotal moment when you do that exercise. I sat down and did that when I was in the mountains, and I started to really look back at my life. For me, one of the things that I noticed as a running theme, I knew this going into it, is I have a lot of guilt around spending money and a lot of fear when it comes to spending money. And it came from having to be perfect to get money. So I grew up in a household where you got rewarded for being the best or winning. And if you didn't win, then you didn't deserve the money. And I realized, oh my God, I didn't think that I was deserving of having money unless I was performing or successful or spot on perfect. And that was like a big aha moment, that I didn't feel worthy of actually having money. And that was like to my heart. I was like, wow, I had thought all this time that I had really worked on my self-worth and my belief. And I didn't realize I was holding on to some of these things that I realized when I think about it, like some of these memories really stuck out in my head. Like, for instance, I rode horses growing up. Sandy and I are both equestrians, and I was really good at what I did. I rode 100 jumpers for a long time, and I was in 4-H, and 4-H was a big thing back in the 80s. And I was at like the state competition, right? It was Wisconsin state competition. And it was fierce. Like these girls, like we were on it. And my dad had made a promise to me that if I had won, he would buy me this new horse trailer. So there was money coming into my life. There was something new coming into my life. And I was rocking it. Like everybody was in the stands goading my dad, man, you better get your checkbook out. This girl's going to win. And my horse like freaked out. Something happened and she reared up. Like people were surprised I even stayed on. And the judge came up to me. This was the kicker. The judge came up to me at the end. There were 96 people in this class. And the judge said to me, had your horse not done that, you would have won. It was the last cut. She's absolutely would have won. And then my dad, he wouldn't purchase the trailer. And everybody said you should buy it for the simple case that she didn't fall off the damn horse when she should have, and that she really would have won. And I think in some sense right there, it was ingrained. If you're not the best, then you're not worthy.
That's interesting. I did not have that at all. I wasn't rewarded for good grade. It was, and again, in Germany, I think the whole grades, you don't get rewarded, you don't get punished. It's your grade. So whatever, it's your life. It's just a little different. But for me, it was, my mother was raised in Nazi Germany in the Second World War. And she, for example, I, as a kid, say, Mom, I'm hungry. And she'd snap at me and she'd say, you don't know what hunger is. Granted, I don't, not to that degree, because they really didn't have food. So again, that was a bit of that scarcity. And my parents weren't wealthy by any stretch, but they weren't hurting either. We took 2 to 3 trips every year. Granted, living in Germany, we traveled all over the world, to Hong Kong, to China, to Israel, everywhere, Egypt. And so that's where they spent their money. But you never were frivolous. You never spent money frivolously. If you went out to eat, it was a big deal. Never talk about money. So all these things that I didn't realize were actually money blocks. The book opened my eye to a lot of that I didn't go that far back. I was married to a very successful individual who made a lot of money, and money was never an issue. I could pretty much buy whatever I wanted. And then my life shifted after my divorce. And I'm very generous, and sometimes too generous. I like to give. For me, being cheap is one of the worst. Like, it just goes so against my nature. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and I said, I'm so grateful that my kids are super generous as well. But again, there's that disconnect from being raised. So just changing my mind around money and looking at these blocks and how all that really does affect you was super eye-opening.
I agree. I love the part in the book because I have a lot of guilt when I spend money or around that. And I think that's common theme with a lot of women out there. I'm sure if you're out here listening, there's always the memes of hiding the bags from the husband and all this stuff.
The horse.
She talked. Yeah. What horse? I don't know. We've always had that horse. What are you talking about? I don't know, honey. What are you talking about? That jacket? I've had that for years. So I loved that she talked about go and do something that makes you feel good. So for some people, it might be, I think one of the instances, which was really funny, buying expensive underwear. If you wear like the worst raggedy underwear and you won't spend money on it because you think that you shouldn't, just go buy a really expensive pair of underwear and wear them and know that. It's like, that makes a lot of sense to me because we hold back on things that we think, oh, I shouldn't get that. I don't deserve it. And of course, there's practicality. She's not talking about go and just spend money frivolously, but find something that makes you feel special. Even if you go and get like a special coffee for yourself every week where you normally wouldn't because it is $7 and you can make coffee at home for 50 cents, do that for yourself and be okay with it. And I thought that was a really good point to get okay with the idea that you are allowed and can have nice things in your life. And there's nothing wrong with that because we're programmed as women, especially, I think, in the society that we should give before we get and that you should be humble and blah, blah, blah. And I think she really starts to help you rewrite that story, which I feel like is a big plus for so many people in this world, especially right now in this society with inflation and all the things that are happening. People are pulling back because they're afraid that they won't have enough money.
I personally always say I create my own economy. I try not to listen too much because it does influence us, right? Subconsciously, it does influence us. So I actually heard another good exercise, not by her, but along those lines. I think it was actually Mike Dooley who said it, taught the messages from the universe. I think it was him. Anyway, he said, when you go to the grocery store and those that cut coupons and those that whatever, that's all fine and dandy. He says, don't overstretch your within reason. But if there's one thing, just one thing, maybe buy the more expensive one, maybe the better one, upgrade, because you're sending messages to the universe that this is what he said, when you're always buying the cheapest and the lowest, you're telling the universe that's all that's in your wheelhouse. Show them that you can. And I've never been a coupon. Again, in Europe, we don't have that coupon.
I won't lie. I love a coupon.
See, in Europe, they don't do.
In some things, I do think it's smart. Like, why wouldn't I get cash back? I also believe that's like you're being practical enough to make your money work for you. But I don't not buy something because I don't have a coupon. There's the difference. If it's there, use it. If Target has 30% off lettuce right now, I'm going to use that coupon because that's 30% off. I'm going to buy lettuce anyways.
For me, I think it's because, again, in Europe, there is no such thing. It's actually one thing the Germans always think is so funny when they come to America. Oh, this is interesting. So I just wasn't raised with that. Now, if there's a coupon on an item, of course, I'll use it. But his big thing is, do splurge like on one thing. Like if you're buying a kombucha and there's one for 99 cents or $2.99, you really want the $2.99, go big, quote unquote, right? Just these little tweaks we can do in our day-to-day life. Again, it doesn't mean you need to go buy a $1 million home and you have a $250,000 one in your budget if you're in the market for a new home. But do send those signals to the universe. And it does make you feel better. And going back to the underwear story, I actually was raised that this is so German, come to think of it. And maybe it's not German, but never wear bad underwear because if you have an accident or if
that's an old European thing. My grandma used to say the same thing. It's like
a friend of mine, she showed me this underwear and each underwear is $36. That I won't splurge. I am too cheap for that. I will not spend $36 on, but I won't just buy the 10-pack Hanes tighty whities forever either.
I'm a Costco underwear girl. I love I love their underwear, not because it's inexpensive, because honestly, I like the underwear.
I agree. I'm the same.
Undies on, and I'm like, Costco wins. They take my bro. They always
do.
They have the best underwear and socks.
And socks.
Yep. And socks.
Yep.
Little tip there. Pro tip. One of the other things, we're just talking about that, putting that stuff out there into the universe. One of the things she talked about also was when she was manifesting that house. She talked about just going to houses and looking at them and being in them and going to open houses. And I was like, I used to do those kinds of things. I used to visualize and go to the open houses or sit in the car when I first started about manifesting. And I feel, again, if you want a different lifestyle, you have to actually understand that that is, you have to feel it. Like we talked about that, Sandy. One of the things that this book made me really understand is I never could understand, oh, the feeling is the secret. Oh, the feeling is the
There's
secret.
a book, Feeling is the Secret.
Yeah, the book. I could never understood what they really meant by that, and that you have to understand like it's already been. And then I realized if you experience something like going into a house, you can then visualize it like it's a memory. And that's the key. Like you're understanding you are there. And so going to those open houses, going to the car dealership and sitting in the car, or going to, maybe you can't get on that trip, but you can go and look at pictures of Italy and watch a video and just immerse yourself in it and then visualize as if you've been there. All of those kinds of things are what she talks about. And really, that's the manifesting part of what she did. That was the manifesting part. But you have to do a little bit of both, which I thought was interesting. You can't just do one or the other. You can't just think about it. You have to immerse yourself in it to have both.
I have a vision. I've seen this house like I don't know how many years now in Italy, and it's a specific house, whatever. I like super ultra modern houses, and I found one in Sacramento where I live that's for sale, and I looked to see when the open house is, but you have to make an appointment. So I didn't do that yet because I need to see my schedule, but I am going to go. Now I have absolutely no intention of buying a house in America, but I want to go look in that house and feel it and see it. And feeling is the secret. Absolutely. Feeling, immersing, visualizing, smelling. I actually see myself in Italy and Luca at a square with my Luca, my dog, Luca, drinking a cappuccino at this particular cafe that I know. I sometimes walk and I pretend I'm in Italy and the sunflower feels like I'm there and I smell it and I see it. And it's powerful. It really is powerful. Honestly, since I've really been doing this, like not a little bit, but really immersed myself into this, I've actually attracted some pretty great opportunities and things, and stuff has shifted. So energetics, right? It's energy. It's going back to a podcast we did before about cause and effect. And it really, truly is. There's so much we can do energetically if we just open our minds to it. And it's powerful.
I agree. I have the same vision of a house that I've always had for the last 10 years. And I got to start I've been trying to find a house that looks like it, and I haven't yet found it, but I keep visualizing it. And I know that it's going to manifest into one day I'll just be driving. There'll be like an open house. I'm just going to stop my car and be like, we're going. And lastly, it's like the first thing that she has you do in the book. And I was really resistant to this, which was she has you track the money that's coming into you, not your budget, but the money that you're receiving. And I've always believed this. I was a little resistant to the idea of tracking it, and I still haven't opened up that spreadsheet, but it's something that's on my to-do list for the next week is to get that started. But tracking even just a penny that comes into your life. If you walk by a penny and you don't pick it up, you are really telling the universe that you don't want money. If I get a penny, I am like excited. I'm like, woohoo, I found a penny, or when someone gives me a quarter at Aldi's because they don't want their cart, I'm like, I'm excited. I didn't have to spend my quarter. I'm like, somebody gave me a free quarter. I pass it on, but still you get excited that came into your life. So tracking every cent, whether it be a sale or in your business, or you found money, or it was gifted to you, or maybe you found that extra. Oh, that's the best. When you do the laundry and you get like a 20 that just comes out of nowhere. It's like the best. And
or
also
in the couch.
Yeah. Or, oh, hey, what's this in the bottom of your purse? Oh, it fell out of my wallet. Awesome. Those kinds of things, being really grateful and tracking that, I thought was a powerful exercise, because you have to see that money is always coming to you. It may not be in the thousands and thousands of dollars right now, but if you get an extra penny, that's extra money into your life, and to be really aware of that. And I think that awareness produces that gratitude.
There's a saying in Germany that says, wer den Pfennig nicht ehrt, ist den Taler nicht wert. And it basically translates as, who doesn't honor the penny doesn't deserve the dollar.
Ooh, I like that. Who doesn't honor the penny doesn't deserve the dollar. Love it. Love it.
Yep. And my mother actually used to say that. Wer den Pfennig nicht ehrt, ist den Taler nicht wert. Of course, she said that if she thought I was being too frivolous and spending money on something that wasn't necessary. But it's true in this sense. It does make an impact.
It really does. And I think that's really important to not just look at the money that goes out in our life, but to really honor the money that comes in our life and understand that while it may not be what you currently want, there is energy is being sent to you. And it's just your job to raise your vibration to where you can manifest and bring the amount of money you want into your life and set those attentions. So I thought that was really powerful. That book overall, I really liked. I thought it was a really interesting book to read. I felt like it was flowing and fun, and it made me take a hard look. And the next book I want to read, I don't know if you've heard of this one on money, and people really have suggested it. It's called The Psychology of Money.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be my next book because I've heard nothing but good things on that as well.
What I liked about this book, though, like you basically just said, it's entertaining. It's got practical exercises, but it's funny. It's light, but is a deep message. So it's not like this deep, oh my gosh, you have to wrap your brain around it. Like Tony Robbins' Money. Honestly, that book to me is like,
that book is more like how to set yourself up.
It is, but I'm just saying
intense.
That's what I'm saying. It's not. Granted, it's totally different. You're absolutely right, but it's deep, it's heavy. This book by Denise Duffield-Thomas is just very practical, tangible. And like you said, I love her humor. And that's
super entertaining. Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
So
she's a lot of fun.
Get rich, lucky bitch.
Go be a get rich, lucky bitch and get a book. And we hope that this week's episode was entertaining as well. We hope that you took some value from it. And we would love to hear your feedback. Did you like the podcast? Please drop us a comment. Maybe you get the book and you want to come back and tell us how it profoundly changed your life. And make sure to share and hit that subscribe button for our next week's episode.